This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your live market chat. Friday, March 17th, 2023. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Market not looking so green at the moment, as you might imagine with everything that's going on in the world. Got a lot to talk about, so please grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's take notes. And let's get to business. So I'm gonna leave this pretty much open for questions. Also talk about kind of the psychology of what's going on, about what I think is ultimately gonna lay out. It's just, again, one of the things I think people very much get caught up in is certainty and trying to predict every single intraday daily move, and that is how most people go broke. And if you bought puts and you're buying calls and you're not taking profit and you're getting stuck and you don't have time, it is pretty easy to get destroyed. Just, how do I know that? Because that's happened to me. And then that's why I always tell people, like, with options, I mean, if you're over trading them and you're buying the wrong ones, you don't know how to trade them, you should assume they're going to go to zero. They're like hand grenades if they're wrong. Wrong meaning timing as well. So all right, on that note, let's get into it. If you have any questions on Discord, folks, please leave a comment in the learning room. I appreciate it. New to the channel, please follow on the Twitter. We'll do the same, watch the Back to Basics, telling you it's a good start. If you want to go to the website that I created that kind of lays it out from beginner to more advanced as you go through this. I'm sitting here just in this, little bit of, I wouldn't say a funk, a little frustrated with yesterday's close. As you might imagine, the gamma squeeze kind of popped the market, added heavily to shorts yesterday around, like 11 o'clock. And then you get the NVIDIA upgrade this morning, and you got, the meta pump yesterday afternoon. But that's just part of trading. I mean, I always tell people this, like, the odds of being perfect on your entries is so low. It is so low. Everybody thinks they're going to absolutely just destroy it and nail every entry, and it's like, oh, this is so easy. I'm just sliding right into an easy entry, and the market's going to just drop, or it's going to flop, or it's going to do what I think it's going to do right now. And it's like, no, market really ain't rational. Oh no, my Fed tool crashed. Oh, I can't even get anything here. Let's see if, all right, let's just go to the charts. I was going to go look at the Fed tools. It looks like you're still expecting a rate hike, 67%. Remember, the 63% threshold is the line in the sand when it comes to Fed rate hikes. So that's what I would be watching. It looks like, I don't know, can you guys, hey, someone on the learning chat, I apologize, my looks like Mozilla crashed. How convenient. How ultimately convenient is that? The timing. I'm going to try to restart it. Let's close all the windows and see what happens here. But while I'm messing with that, again, I can't see comments, which is a little frustrating. NVIDIA. So I'm watching the 10-minute pretty hawkishly. Just watching the AM lows. Again, do you have to be like perfect? But this is an interesting open, right? You know how we talk about like high volume at the highs, high volume at the lows? I think it may have been Eric or Scott or I think it was Eric this morning was saying, dude, did you guys see the volume on the semis at the open? He's like, yes, sir. Yes, sirree, Bob. I apologize. I don't have my Mozilla, so I can't. It's all reloading. Didn't really look that hot, did it now? Right? And you're sitting here going, wow, interesting. Something isn't right? Right? You're just going, oh, gosh, something isn't right. So at this point, with what you see, what's going on, I mean, I think as I try to reopen this, I would just watch these lows. And I apologize if I'm kind of stalling here. I'm trying mentally to open all the old windows and get everything. For some reason, Mozilla crashed on me, and I had all these nice, my hundreds of tabs open. Oh, this is frustrating. Yeah, all my tabs that had been open for a while are just not open. So I gotta, yeah. Oh, this is frustrating. One tab. Give me 2 seconds. Yep, it ain't doing it. Restore all those. I mean, I could restart this if y'all wanted, but I figured it's not worth it at this point. We can just continue flashing through it, because I think what you're going to see at some point, will we not all agree, it's just a matter of if, not when, right? All right, I got the live chat open. Let's see if I can get that. I apologize for the problem there. All right, Morgan Stanley upgraded. Yeah, Netstar. Yeah, we were kind of joking about that earlier. It's like, you know, and if Drew's listening, he called out. He's like, man, I should just put in my notes, waiting for a buddy pass every time to short. And I'm like, you know, it might not be a bad idea. What other comments? TA on the UUP. Let's do it. Run through all of your comments, questions, concerns. Man, it's tough. You know, if I'm watching the dollar, you're stuck in no man's land, right? You're not making new lows, you're not making new highs, you're kind of stuck in here. Now you could argue that's a lower high, but you're not really breaking down. The volumes are pretty anemic. I personally don't know. I would honestly, the dollar, and that's the thing. I told people I have dust calls. They're down a whopping 43%. But I told people, like, I define my risk. I only bought 5 of them. Because I was like, when the market does tank, usually miners get smoked. But guess what? Could I be wrong? Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm not wrong ever. I think that's the thing about people, gurus, furus, whatever you want to call them. There's a ton of people who just have this air of them that they're like, this is what has to happen. This is how it works out. This is what it's all going to be. And it's like, is it? I got it back. Like, I'm laughing here at our friend Scott. Meta headed to 250, equal right shoulder. Probably not, dude. Right? Or people going, Nvidia has to go to 280 now. And it's like, you got to be careful with your predictions. You know, and then Scott's saying oil to 40 or 50s. Maybe. Again, I hate trying to put predictions on, because this is the thing about the mind. Yeah, price targets keep rising at the highs and at the lows. You got to be careful with price targets. You got to like trade the market that you got and the evidence that you got. Like, how the hell is Meta going to go to 250 if the market's rolling over? Get the hell out. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but that's just like me being like, the Mets are going to win the World Series and their closer just tore his whatever ACL for the year. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the evidence just changed. I may have thought the Mets were going to do really well this year, but no, the evidence changed. So that's just part of it. That's just ultimately a part of the game. And so when people get locked in to these thoughts, and again, it's like the market plays games at the highs. And here's the thing: if Scott, Eric, some of you guys, Jay Souls, the hardest trade is usually the right thing to do. Like, the hard thing to do is usually right. Well, right now, everybody and their mom is going absolutely ape bananas for semiconductors. They think they're somehow safe. Chat GPT-4, AI. Oh, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, okay. Oh, there goes NVIDIA. Adios. Let me go back to that. I'll just kind of have that in the background. And that's the problem here, is that at the highs, everyone gets excited, and they do the wrong things. And at the lows, they puke it up. And the evidence, yes, the evidence changes quickly. That's what's so hard. It's like, why would I put a price target on 250 of Meta or move my price targets up on NVIDIA to 280 when I see the market doing what? Looking a little tired. Looking a little tired and sleepy. You know what I mean? Like, what is going to catalyst Meta up to 250? Are they going to lay off another 10,000 employees every week for the next 5 weeks to get it there? I don't know. My man Jay says, can you please look up Microsoft? Yeah, bro. I talked about it earlier. I was like, man, this is novice gapish. Look at that wick. I mean, that literally is the arrow pointing down. And this is what's problem with straight line moves, right? Is like, they're going to get sold at some point. And now again, Microsoft's up because of all the AI talk. But this is just a sloppy big pattern. And again, I mean, what's your take on Microsoft? I mean, I love when people come in and go, well, I think it's going up for the long term. I don't know. We talked about the 20-month on this thing. Do you not? And again, this is where how many, people have been trading who are in their 40s minimum, who remember like the decade of death in Microsoft. They're usually like, I remember you would turn on CNBC, and this is when they had like Kudlow and Kramer, Mark Haynes, all the OGs. And look, literally people would be like, they'd have like analysts come on and go, I like Microsoft. Their cash flow is steady. Their growth is 10 to 12%. They have, visibility out for the next 10 years. And people would recommend it, and it literally stayed in the 20 to 30 range for what seemed like forever. After it did what? Went on a nice monster run. Well, look at this run. I mean, let me zoom. I got to keep zooming. Hold on. Well, hold on. Still not done. Hold on. Still not done. Oh, there we go. Hits the 20-month. We'll see. I mean, I'm not trying to like be mean or not honest with you. I don't think it's gonna be that good. I mean, this looks like a bear market in Microsoft. Here's your head and shoulders top. Here's your lower high. Now here's the thing, right? Some of y'all know this. The trap, right? The trap at inflection points. Make a slightly higher high. Make a slightly lower low. Then you turn around. That is hard, man. That is hard. But how does Dan know this? Well, Dan's been caught in that trade. What? The opposite side of it. What seems like Groundhog's Day. At least 2 or 3 times a year. It happens. You're going to get caught in it. Especially when you're trading what you think are the leaders and the ones that need a dump, right? Or go higher, whatever. You see it with like gold and stuff many times for personally. So, price, yeah. Treasury Secretary Yellen says not all uninsured deposits will be protected in the future. Yep, I saw that. Yep, haha, yep. 2-9 offsuit. Yep, Evidence changes quickly, and that's why you got to do your daily reviews, and that's why you got to zoom out, and that's where you got to you got to be humble and go, all right, I'm trying to be neutral, and that's why I hate when people get really excited about trades. Like, I'm seeing First Solar dump here, and I'm like, I don't even think my heart beat sped up 1 beat, and I'm like, cool, awesome. I hope it absolutely gets smoked. Scott, IWM. Yeah, we've talked about this IWM. Laggy. I mean, you would think the market's real strong. The IWM would be bouncing. But bounce, no, it's like, looks just like the financials, just lagging. Look at this. I mean, this is what's so hard is like the freaking, the headlines are trying to convince you everything's fine. Everything they did seems like they just went into panic mode, and it's like, it's way worse. And I've told people this for what seems like months, and I've personally been doing it over the last couple of weeks. Nobody's leaving their money in banks that are yielding 0.1%, and people are trying to pull money out. They're trying to find alternative savings accounts, and they're trying to be safe and smart, and people are not trying to get over that 250 FDIC. And now bank credit's tightening. Europe, I mean, if we got the cold, Europe has pneumonia because they have 100-year debt negative interest rates. Like they were at least smart enough to sell bonds, 100-year duration bonds, 30-year, whatever, just junk. And so mark to market, you mean who's holding on to these negative interest rate bonds? Again, I don't, do I need to like go Bloomberg and go study all of it? No, I imagine just like every couple of years, European banks are just a mess. Go woke, go broke, managing all those banks over there. I mean, if you could see me, it's like that meme where he's got his, the hand palm, like, oh, gosh, unreal. So we'll see what happens here. I mean, that's what I talked about. People like, we talked about taking FAS short off, adding back, but like defining your risk. So if you wanted to buy puts and you bought puts up here, sorry, this is what I think a lot of people don't realize how well we did on this. If you shorted up here, awesome. You were patient. Then you added on the 20-day. Remember, it's the 20 saying the XLF. Well, now I've taken off after it drops almost 40 points. Very nice trades. Now I'm minimizing my, defining my risk. And people are like, what did you do? I'm like, I just ended up buying some FAS next month 55 puts, and I think they're like 6 something, whatever. I'm like, I think this thing could go down to 30s easily. Well, what if it ends up being the gut puncher on the XLF? I mean, I don't think people understand. Like, when the banks lead, and the banks can do ugly things. I mean, this is why I'm always like, please zoom out for the love of God. Let's just change it to that right there. You know how we talk about when you test support and you bounce? Look at this. You bounce, takes months, you hit the 20-month. Big red. Yeah, look how banks performed. And again, it's just the nature of the beast. Now, is it going to happen tomorrow? No, it's a process, right? And this is the thing. I'd love to see the banks drop. And then obviously they have earnings coming up. And they're going to all try to say what? They're all going to say what? What they always do during this kind of stuff. Oh, our balance sheets are great. Liquidity is not an issue. We believe we're in good standing. Oh, we'll probably, like Wells Fargo, let's do a little secondary offering. Let's try to see if we can raise a little capital. You know, sprinkle a little capital on that. And then they'll pretend everything's going to be okay. And the market will get excited, and then it'll rally a couple points, and then it's like, meh. Yeah, nice call to see solar selling off. Yeah, you know, solar is a turd. I mean, if you're watching oil and you believe oil's going much lower, which ultimately could, I don't think people remember this. I mean, again, we were shorting oil in 2008. I can tell that story if you all want at some point, but it was like, look at what First Solar did. I mean, look at this 1 monthly candle. 270 down to 170. Then you had this bounce, 202 down to 94. First Solar can drop $100. Pretty damn quick. Pretty quick. So, if that's your understanding of how this works, then you're probably sitting here going, all right, well, did I catch the top or bottom? Nope. No, we did not. No, we did not. Stopped out, did not catch the top, but gave myself time and outs and said, this is probably a trap. So, all about gold and silver? No, I mean, if you have to go long something, I guess, but here's the problem with going long. Right? Are gold and silver going to go absolutely 8 bananas? I don't think so yet. And what is the reason why? It's because we haven't hit the Fed pivot. Now, they could literally pivot next week if things get bad enough. So this whole thesis. But here's the thing, though, right? You have opportunity costs. To me, I'd rather see like these absolute donkey pieces of crap that need to drop hundreds of points versus what's gold going to move up? Is gold going to, is the GLD going to trade up 10, 15 points? Maybe. I don't know. Is that really worth it? I mean, because I can always get into gold and silver later. I just don't think it really makes sense. But here's a good question. Without a sound banking system, US dollar's toast. That's, again, I think the problem is that the U.S. banking system is not as bad as Europe's banking system. That's the problem here. It's like, who's the worst turd out there? Right? I mean, European banks or U.S. banks? Which one would you rather own? Maybe I'm naive on European banks, but I mean, I wouldn't want to own a European bank. Yeah, this is what's so hard about gold and silver. And so that's why, again, people are like, oh, why are you short miners? And I'll show you exactly why. Because I've lived this. Yeah, I'd rather own U.S. banks all day. 2008, I mean, you got the doof. Well, why do miners get smoked? Well, they're more of a part of the market, right? They have credit risk, right? What happens if miners can't get access to capital? There's a credit crunch, and that's what usually crunches miners. Now, again, gold, silver, obviously, they're not, right? That doesn't matter, correct? Like, that doesn't matter. But, so, I've seen this many times. Here you go with COVID. It's just tough. I mean, again, do I want to go long gold? Let's look at the chart again. Again, monthly. I mean, if this is the big monthly cup and handle, which we've talked about forever, we talked about the head and shoulders bottom, and here's your well-drawn cup. Steady hands. Steady hands. Do I want to be early? I don't, or you know what I mean? Like what? It's kind of the same thing. Like if we get into like hyperinflation and people are like, well, isn't your long-term like IRAs, all that crap that you really can't trade around in cash? And I'm like, yeah. Well, if the market goes hyperinflation, I'd rather buy the breakout of the market or some sort of obvious up move that leads to that is obvious hyperinflation than to get in it early. Right? Right? No. Again, it's like opportunity cost. First solar drops 100 points. Your favorite tech names get slaughtered at some points. Your favorite, I mean, we talked about like Caterpillar. I mean, that thing could get absolutely just donkey punched. I mean, I don't even know what the right words are. Some of these oil gas names, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. We talked about ExxonMobil. I mean, whatever you want. Whatever you want. You just have to think about opportunity cost. Will gold break out? This is what you get a little, again, it gets a little iffy. We haven't gotten to the point, in my opinion, where I think, again, I mean, I might be eating my words, but this is just me, history, knowing what I mean. Again, people have their opinions. I have my opinions based on my experience. I'm not just talking out of my ass, right? Remember, the market bottomed in March 2009, right? Well, what did the Fed start doing in fall of 2008, right? They started pivoting. But even then, look what happened, right? You got waterlogged at the range highs. Then we went. Do I want to play a trade that could get waterlogged? I don't think so, Tim. I don't think so. That's all I can really say on that. So, and again, silver, I mean, I think I could sit on a throne of silver if I wanted to. I've been buying this stuff since 2014, 13, 15. Look at silver. It got absolutely just destroyed. Rally back. That was a nice move, right? But then it didn't go until it went. Okay. Again, let's wait for the. I know, again, you can argue the Feds have already gone QE, but here's the problem with throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's what they do. Silver, I mean, it's. Some people can't short, won't short. That's fine. I get it. I absolutely get it. Right? That's your call. That is your call. I'd rather be late to that stuff and take advantage of the volatility that creates the move in gold than to like ride it up. But I can argue that it's probably the safer, easier, just sit back, relax, know that every headline is going to be probably pretty beneficial. That's all I can really say. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Because it's a good topic. I mean, it's, again, the problem is I don't think a lot of people understand this, is like, I've got a ton of physical, right? I don't trade that, obviously, right? So do I need to feel like I have to buy gold, silver, miners? You know what I mean? And that's what I'm hoping. I've been telling people for years, you know, who involved in the Discord room, friends, you know, everybody involved, like, hey, get your physical on, right? Get your physical. Because you're probably not going to be trading it. Yeah, Bob, that's the news. That's what everyone wants to believe. Mega tech strength is just a sector rotation from energy and finance into companies with cash flows and no to low debt. Yeah, yes, but this is the problem I don't think people realize, is like the weighting of oil and gas, whatever, materials to tech, it's like 10 to 1. When that unwinds, you're going to see materials go on an epic bull market, just like we talked about who wins the tech war. So at this point, this feels like the last like gasp of trap into tech. Oh, tech is safe. Oh, it's only trading at 140 times next year's earnings or whatever NVIDIA is. I mean, they still have to run a business, right? They still have to make money. Oh, no, again, they can have cash. But what good is cash when they're sitting on inventory? And, well, some of them have debt, some of them don't. I get it. It's just I don't think people understand how inflation is not, tech hates inflation. Tech is deflationary by nature. By nature. That's why in 2003 to 2008, tech was just absolutely trash. And commodities acted like tech names. People just don't remember that because they didn't live it. I get it. Let's just run through the gambit of things that I'm watching. So let me start off. Let me see if I can. It's on this worksheet. Where are you, Mr. FedEx? Obviously, FedEx had earnings. They absolutely killed it. Because of why? I mean, they had the fuel surcharges, and obviously their cost of oil, whatever, inputs went down. But this is like, look at this gap. Okay. Keep an eye on it. It's like, well, what is UPS doing? They should be rocking and rolling, right? Right? Not so much, Tim. Kind of watching those on the side. Just keeping an eye on it. Obviously watching the XLF. It is just dancing around the 31 level. Dancing. People say, well, maybe that's the bottom. I mean, this is the thing. You could argue that it could dance around here. Absolutely. Right? No one's going to say it couldn't. Professional gap on Meta? Good question. Let's go to the chart so people can see what you're referencing. It's not as professionally grande as I'd like, but yeah, I mean, you opened or you closed here, you gap down. It loves to have little gappers. I mean, that was an earnings gap. That was actually a big novice gap. But here, this is the thing, right? Like, flip this upside down. Right? Here it is. Meta 250! No. But this happens to be what happens with what? This is the thing that you have to be very cognizant of is Blue Horseshoe loves Anacott steel. You know that line from Wall Street, right? TikTok is eating Meta's lunch, right? They want to ban it. Okay, well, that's a really good headline to draw in people. Now, I wish I could have said I knew the top is 2 whatever. It got to 205 or whatever the crap is. But you don't know that. You don't know. But you got to be super nervous when you're running up on what? News. It'd be different if they announced that and it was down here, right? Now you can get behind that. Now, not so much. I don't know. It feels very trap-ish. Right? Like, hey, you're getting people to buy the highs on news. Right? Hey, let's buy Meta because they're banning TikTok. Okay. And then you get people going, oh, it's going to 250. It's going to 300. It's going back to whatever. I don't know. Whatever number you want to put. Scott's like, oh, it's got to be a head and shoulders. Well, Scott never zooms out. That's what drives me crazy about him. And he goes, oh, well, look at the fucking zone. Oops, excuse me. Look at the zone here. That to me looks, and again, this is why we use the monthly and we're not. That's why you got to get your screens on. You got to be able to watch the weekly, monthly, and then daily. Like 250. I mean, I guess you could test the gap. I don't know. It just boggles my mind. Where's the GDX? 3030. Isn't there a... Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that 0.25 in this level here? I know, dude, I love you too, but you don't ever zoom out, man. You just got tunnel vision, Scott, and it's just how many times do I have to tell you to zoom out? Nicely, right? Just zoom out. Start on the monthly. Stop starting on whatever chart you are because you're 250. I'm what is 250? What is 250? It's just a number. It's a fugazi. Layer into Soxus, SMH near resistance. I mean, if you define your risk, it makes absolute sense to be adding Soxus up here. I tried to buy more in the 20. That obviously wasn't the bottom. I'm not too concerned about it. I mean, it looks like a retest. And this is the thing. I mean, I could be wrong here. Could we go higher? This is the thing, right? You don't sit here and you go, I know what's going to happen. No. As I said, you're going to nail entries like 30% of the time if you're good. The rest of the times you're going to be trying to layer in and hit it. Is this a lower high? We'll see. I mean, is this a trap candle? Again, did anyone see the NVIDIA 10-minute, right, opening? Let me pull it up again, because this is like a little sketchy. A little sketchy, right? Gosh darn it. Let me open that. Every time it doesn't want to drag. Look at this opening bar. Buddy pass. Big volume at the highs. Who's buying? Who's chasing? It's got to be that smart money. It's got to be that smart money. I need to rewatch this later. As I got on, what are your thoughts on transport such as shipping stocks like Ship? Oh man, I don't like those. No, they don't. No, I would lay off that kind of stuff. Now again, at the lows, yeah, I think so. Yeah, the dust trade works well with the computer brokers telling us that my investors lost faith in you. I'm not saying it's right. No, and that's why, Bob, I'm not like I have a high conviction in my dust trade. Because I think, again, if history repeats, it will go higher and the miners dump. And I've defined my risk. I told them, like, I literally have 5 puts. They're down a whopping 46%. I defined them, and I said in my mind, if they go to 0, that's fine. It's not going to make or break me. But if it happens, it happens. I've got 421. The 13 calls. Bought them at $1.50. They are now worth 70 cents or something like that. That's the reality. No, so 80 cents. So, but this is the thing. This is what gets so hard is I don't think people, they don't know how to trade bear markets. I don't know how to say this without sounding arrogant, but I've traded lots of up and down. It doesn't faze me one bit. It's no different. Up, down, it's all the same. I just hate chop. Going nowhere is what is boring and what'll kill your options. And if you don't have time, obviously. So, I need to rewatch it. Yeah, Ship, I don't know. I mean, the shipping container rates get smoked when a recession happens. And if there's credit freezes and businesses aren't getting money, no, you don't know. You don't want to be in the shippers. No way. Oh, not this one. I forgot this one. What is this? This is one of those. Is this an oil shipper? I can't remember. Is this an oil shipper? No, I don't like the bottom fish. I'd rather find leaders. I hate cheap stocks. This is not a leader. This is not a leader. And that's interesting, but I wonder what the gap down and making lower lows. We're not even back at the COVID lows, are we? Or no, we are. I guess we are. I mean, I used to, and this is the thing, what's crazy, there used to be a lot of really great shippers, but I feel like most of the shippers are Greek. Greece is not a well-run country. Bulk dry sipping, yeah. Could you take a look at Oxy? Everyone is raving about the Buffett buy more. I have a price target. No, I'm not, no. Why do you have a price target? Like, what? I don't get this. Like, do you hear me talking about price targets on any of my shorts? I'm just watching level to level. It's just like, dude, you don't listen. 35. Yeah, I've got that level, but I'm not going to assume it has to get there, and I'm going to sit there and wait for it to get there potentially. Like, it'll just trade with the market. I mean, it's clearly holding this next downside range lows. The Buffett bounces, you might want to call it. I mean, obviously, if this level breaks, I think it bottoms at 35. I hate how you have this mind of, I think this and this is the. You are so omnipotent. You must also be the smartest guy out there. Because you're just like, I know this and I think this and that target and all that. That kind of thinking, I'm just warning you as a friend. That's how you get fucked. Oh, I think gold does this. Sorry, you were wrong. I think this is going to happen. Wrong. It doesn't help you stay neutral. The goal is to stay neutral. Because along the way, it's not going to always be a straight line move. And this is the thing. Like, what if the evidence changes, but you have in your mind, this is how it has to happen? This is how you get screwed. This is how you get burned. How many times have I sit here and said, I have a desire to see CF around 74, right? I want to buy it around down here. Well, the evidence is changing, so do I really want to buy it here? No. I'm trying to stay neutral. I don't want to buy it there. See how that works? Just try to stay neutral. Plug. Oh boy. No, this thing is turd. This thing is a turd, man. No. Again, I don't want to bet on any alternative energy up moves at the moment. It just seems... I don't even know how to explain it other than you're just bottom fishing. I mean, you trying to go long, plug? I don't know where you want to draw this. I mean, this is... I don't know how to say this nicely, but that is the pump and that's the dump. I mean, I feel like this is a meme stock. Is this AMC or GameStop? I remember plug because I remember for many years it traded at like pennies. And then it went on this huge run, and now everybody got all excited about it. Now there's like a following in plug, and now it's like AMC and GameStop. Yeah. This is like me recommending EXPI. I work or have my license hung with EXPI, and I tell people this all the time. We ran up on the COVID. We got up on the COVIDs, and I have stock. I get award and bonuses, and I always have agents going, what do you think about EXPI stock? I'm like, it's dead. If it rises, that's really nice. But I would not buy this stock and think it's actually like some sort of deal or it's like a good trade. No. I'll take the stock because they give it to you when you do deals. I'll put 5% in it. Maybe it'll jump up to 22 at some point. But I'm not going to hold my breath. I will not hold my breath. That's for sure. You have to realize, like, just because a stock is low doesn't mean it's cheap or it's a good buy. That's the problem with people sometimes is they, you know, and who's not going to look at low prices and go, that's cheap. That's cheap. I mean, all these trend lines busted. I don't like to... This is the hardest thing is like people don't really... I get it. Everybody's trying to get rich off of the next like easy trade or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Trying to buy something cheap and low and junky. It's like single digit. Okay, well, I'd like to just see the ones that I really think that are market leaders that have held up really well get slaughtered. Not the ones that have already been like taken out to the woodshed and are just, you know, it's like someone needs to put a bullet in Lassie, which is sad to say. I don't know how to say it. You just learn from experience. You get stuck. I mean, think about all the people who are just like sitting here going, I'm buying AMC popcorn. You go into Walmart today, buy all their AMC popcorn. Oh, what price did you buy it at, Billy? Oh, I bought it at 25. Okay, Billy. Well, I'm going to ride it out. And the people don't realize, like, the reason why I'm very familiar with this kind of pump, dump, and get stuck and stick to crap names is you can see it. Like, I mean, I grew up I started trading during the tech bubble and knew a ton of people who worked for Cisco, involved with Cisco, and they, you know, on paper, they thought they were all rich. And it was a great stock. And then it was like, and it's like you could have bought anything in 2000, not anything, but, you know, you could have bought a lot of stocks in 2003 that have done a lot better than this. And it still hasn't gotten back to the all-time highs. Right? It's just like, all right, moveon.org. Find the next leaders. I don't log scale chart. No, just very regular. Try to keep it simple. I don't need to add layers of It's not necessarily confusion, but I don't know. That's my preference. I can't really say if that's right or wrong. So everybody has a little bit different style. That's all I can say. Wells Fargo, I haven't looked at that in a minute. Man, that is ugly. Nothing, and bam. Yep. Trading is hard, kind of, if you have short-term time frames. But I'm telling you, so many people, this is what, again, I don't want to rant on junk, but, I mean, you're literally going credit crunch, tightening up, Feds over-tightening. Remember, when the Feds pivot, then the market tanks even more because then the Feds are admitting, oh, crap. And remember, who's been paying attention? When has the Feds navigated a soft landing? Never. So it's just a matter of when, not if. Will the bear market bottom, with a VIX in the 30s? No. We got to at least get up into the high 40s. And if it's proper and it's going to be like the best, because again, remember, like COVID, that was a great buy because the VIX got into 84s. Like if you want to buy stuff with little chance of back testing and making new lows, then you want the blowout. We're not there yet. I mean, why would I buy any stock at this point? Like, do y'all see like my thinking here? Like, asking to buy a stock is just asking to get bent over backwards and slapped around. I don't know. I can't say a lot of this stuff, but you know what I mean? Like, you're just going to get screwed over. When the tide goes out, nothing's really safe. And if you're betting on something being safe, well, maybe gold when they pivot. Silver, maybe. Miners at some point. But in general, like, do I want to like start investing for the long run at this point? I tell them no. Well, what if hyperinflation comes? I said the same thing. Well, then I'll be late. Because if the stock market's going on the Venezuelan, Argentina Express, thousands of %, well, what's the damn difference if you buy it at 400 or 390? Or 425, 450, or, if it's going to 10,000 or whatever hyperinflation SPY would get to, right? Like, it's like small percentages that you may have missed on the way to like hyperinflation. So it's like, I'm not going to be early. No need to be early. Yeah, Nvidia chopping around. So again, remember, it's Friday of OPEX. Imagine it could get choppy. Remember. Any other thoughts, questions? Man, why would you be thinking about long run buys right now? People's heads are not, I think, in the right place. I guess you could short it up here. I mean, that's what you're thinking, I'm assuming. That's the daily. GE is just, man, that thing. I mean, a lot of y'all don't remember this stock like I do. I mean, this thing used to be a boss. Then it went kapow. Then they restructured, and then it's just, now it's at 89. It's like, yeah, all my old charting is from lower prices because that's, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Intel. We talked about Intel. I started throwing that into the recaps because I was like, okay, where are we at? And it's like, watch the 200-day. Did we hit it? 31. 31. We didn't get to 31.10. Nope. Doji. But here's the thing, right? Like, I don't know how to explain this because, again, this is like plug and play or AMC or whatever. It's dead, right? But it rallies 20% because it's been smoked so much, and it gets people thinking, well, do I got a deal here? Do I got a steal of a deal here? It's like, okay, maybe not. Yeah, Intel is just dead money. Oh, but they're going to get government subsidies to sell chips that nobody wants? Like, that's not a good business. I mean, the inventory of chips, South Korea wants to build their own. Apple's building their own, so they don't need to buy any. I mean, it's just like a big cluster, coming. A lot of people think semis are the future. Well, they were always the future. That's what people don't realize. What do you mean the semis aren't the future? Or sorry, always the future. Did I stutter? They've always been the future. It's just they cyclical, right? Right? Like, that's just the nature of the beast, y'all. And I don't know how else. Because look at this. I mean, look at this. I mean, you guys don't remember this stuff. Maybe you do. I don't know. Semis were nothing forever. Forever, ever. Forever, ever. Forever never felt so long. If you know that line. So, I mean, semis aren't going out of business. Pan W. Oh, man. Palo Alto Networks. Isn't that it? Yeah, right. Cybersecurity. Wow, I've not messed with this one in a while. Also, too, I had to transfer from Q charts to eSignal, and that took like 5 years. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Bamf. I mean, you've got, looks like a little mini Head and Shoulders, and here's like your blowout right shoulder. Here's your novice gap. Let me just check the weekly, see if I see anything sneaky on it. No, I mean, that Head and Shoulders or whatever, not that show, but this, like, this definitely area shows up of visually. You got lower lows, equal highs, right? I don't know what's the best way to draw it. Something stupid like that. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong if you define your risk. I mean, I feel like do they have like a weird, when is their earnings? I guess, was this earnings? I'm assuming this was, right? So you've got some time. Yeah. I think you might be a Stabian. Have we covered Apple and Bitcoin yet? No, we have not, actually. Thanks for asking. Apple, 156 every time. Every single time. Yeah, we've talked about it. This area matters, right? This area matters. It's a 0.618 off the highs to the lows. I mean, if it breaks over it, I guess you got to go. I mean, personally, I don't think they're going to be safe. Now, I know people are saying they're a bank in themselves sitting on a ton of cash. I mean, I get the logic. I mean, I would tell myself that too if I didn't want it to go lower in a bear market. It's got a lot of cash. I made a cash. You made a rubber band. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, lower lows. I mean, like an equal high. I mean, it kind of looks like Pan W. I'm just waiting. I mean, that's the thing. If things get worse in China, I mean, I don't watch a ton of TV, but when I was watching sports, I feel like you can get like 3 iPhones for nothing now if you sign up for a T-Mobile account or something. Yeah, we definitely have not seen the full effects. I agree. Let's look at the Bitcoin. I mean, I think people keep talking about shorting it, but it's like shorting gold. I'd rather short like Bitcoin miners, maybe. I don't know. That doesn't look bearish to me. It seems to be outperforming, right? Making a higher high, but this is what's kind of a little sneaky with Bitcoin, right? Could this be a trap? Again, I mean, that's the thing. For the folks that have Bitcoin, gold, silver, physical, I don't think there's really much to do. To trade it, I mean, if you're betting on like that dollar collapse, just epic melt up, give yourself time, I guess. That's the best way to describe it. But also it could get volatile. It's hard, man. It's so hard. It's like it's easier to see. Yeah, I agree. They don't the full effects of rate hikes. Yeah, no, it's a lagging effect. You know this, Bob. I feel like you know that pretty well. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this pattern, but you know the broadening pattern. They call it like a megaphone pattern. These are by far like some of the hardest patterns to trade, right? Let me clear that off. And a megaphone pattern, right? When you see it, you think it's bullish though, right? It should be bullish. Right? It should be bullish. But that's just hard. I mean, broadening patterns are incredibly difficult. But the problem is now you have like such a steep incline, you have to break over this. So does that help, Gamester? Because that's again, broadening patterns. You can see them on the way down. You can see them on the way up. It's just whatever trend is broken is typically the one that's going to be the go. Because think about like this pattern is just like an ultimate frustration pattern of just absolute mind game, right? Because you're like, it's making lower lows and it's making higher highs. You know, it's like when it's raining and it's sunny out. You're like, well, which one is it? Dr. Stocks is scaring him because he's shorting Microsoft. Dr. Stocks is shorting Microsoft. That is a little scary. What's his logic? Let me see if I can find on the Discord room. Poop clown sentiment. We bought a couple puts today. Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, I mean, they're channel highs. Yeah, I don't really like seeing that either. I would not like seeing that as a bear either. But again, I don't know this dude's background, but even broke clock is right twice a day. I mean, even people love to talk junk and like, oh, you're wrong, right? And it's like, dude, I'm gonna be wrong. Dr. Stocks is pivoting. I mean, he is a doctor. How many followers does he have? Just curious. Because I mean, if like bear poops in the woods and no one hears it, did it happen? Kind of thing, right? Or tree falls in the woods. I mean, I know I love how I don't have a huge following because I don't want to be a market mover. Because I feel like if I ever dollars falling, yeah, I see that. If I ever become a market mover, I'll just warn you guys now. As soon as we really like something at the high, you know, not at the highs, but at the lows, I mean, we'll probably get trapped and they'll play with the action. It'll just drive people nuts. Yeah, that's hard because I feel like if you ever become so big that you have a following, you got to learn how to sell options against your stuff. 39,000, okay, it's not everybody. That's a decent amount. For stock twits, I feel like that's high because stock twits is full of a bunch of folks that are looking for guidance from people who probably they shouldn't get guidance from, right? All right, I'm going to wrap this up in a couple minutes. Yeah, nearly 40,000 followers. Yeah, you know what I might probably start doing in the next couple weeks is really like dial into covered call accounts because I'm moving some money into another account to keep it under the FDIC, and I think what I'm going to do with this one fully is just buy stock, sell covered calls, or sell stock, sell covered puts. And that's going to be, you guys are going to probably blow your damn minds. You're going to be like, whoa. If you can pick directional movements with stocks and then sell covered calls, and then you can print, I mean, it's been called the printing press technique because when you collect that premium, now it reduces your cost basis. If it drops, and say you bought calls for $10, they go down to zero, you buy them back for whatever zero, and then the stock hopefully is bottoming. You sell the calls at the correct strike, or not strike, but the levels. Again, but you got to be careful trying to be like Scott and going, oh, it's got to go to 35, because sometimes it doesn't do that. And if you get called out of the stock, you don't care because you know there's always another stock, literally, to trade or do something with. So it's pretty fun. Is this strategy a good entry point to options? Is this strategy? What, covered call writing for entries to options? Yes. I always tell people covered calls are way safer because you have the stock against it. The worst case scenario you miss out on, if it goes higher without you, say you sell a covered call, for example, is you're going to miss out on the upside. Obviously, your defined upside is the call premium you collect. So say you have a stock, you buy it at 100, it goes to 110, you sell the 100 call for $15. Well, now your upside is literally 115. After that, you don't collect on it, and you give the stock to someone at the right at, obviously 100, and you collect the $15 premium. So whatever it goes after that, and again, you're not losing money, you're just losing out on opportunity. It's a big difference. And that'll get you, and this is the thing I don't think people realize, like, options were meant to be sold. That's where they were created. The product in itself is a mechanism for hedging and insurance. Hence decay. Hence time decay. I mean, look at the Black-Scholes model for what it's like, all the variables. It's like, you ever see like the time grains of sand little thing, you flip it over and it's just like sand is just draining out. That's essentially what's happening. So, all right, another couple minutes. Thoughts on luxury real estate stocks, short, medium, the bank crisis will continue to crush the market. I feel like you asked me about Toll Brothers last time. Again, I typically have a pretty good memory on who asked me what and when. Always, not always. I get a lot of damn questions. It's not 2 L's, Dan. Ugh. This isn't like 2008. That's the only thing I try to warn people. Like, this isn't 2008. Again, I just did a deal with Toll Brother for a client, and they are just, like, they're not spec building. They've got their cost. They're firing and laying off people. I mean, they're trying to, again, it's different than, like, to me, meta and housing, because people always need houses. Keep in mind, when interest rates go higher and there's a shortage of inventory, what happens to house prices? Think of the 70s and 80s. People are like, oh, I bet the housing market collapsed when interest rates went to 20%. It's like, no, actually, they tripled because there's inflation, depending on the area, obviously. And there are shortages. So, it's tough to know. It's tough to know. Again, I don't know why I feel like a broken record, but I guess I kind of am. I feel like the easiest shorts are, to me, certain, again, I don't know if that's material, but like solar stuff, green stuff. Oh, financials just got a little pop. Financials on pops, obviously. And tech. I don't need to, it's kind of like in 2008, in 2009, you knew it was a housing / banking / commodity bubble, right? Well, tech was already crap. So, in certain sectors where, they just weren't really going anywhere. So it's like, all right, well, they weren't the leaders. Like, I want to short the leaders, right? Because they had the most amount of retail and dumb money in them. And so if the liquidity's in them and the market makers want to trap people, that's what you do, right? You're going to knock those folks out. And people are like, oh, what do you mean? I'm like, does it not make sense? Like, you want the stuff where retail is like going bananas in. Because think about it, and this is the thing, if you didn't trade in 2000s, like everybody, again, the rumors were, Saudi's going to run out of oil is going higher, yada, yada, yada. And again, people forget, oil is the second most amount of liquid in the crust other than water on the planet. Like, we're never running out of oil, in my opinion. We'll just have to, it'll be harder to find. What was I saying? And so oil got smoked. Well, why? Because everyone was jumping into oil, right? Like, everyone was believing in oil. Well, what's everyone believing in now? Green energy, right? Now, again, I'm not saying green energy is bad for long term. I'm just saying, like, the stocks, it's going to get potentially pulverized. Because especially if oil and gas come back down to prices that don't really justify the reason to use this stuff. And then what? Whoa. Did I miss a headline? Give me a second. I feel like something just popped. That's the thing. This is what's so hard about this market is, it's going to be like super headline driven. Has to be a headline. Or a rumor. First Republic deposits infusion helps but evaluate. No, that's Wedbush. Blah, 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 blah. Market internals. Bumble's up 4%. No, don't see anything. Nope, don't see anything. So, yeah, we'll see. It's part of the game. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? I think this is the thing about trading, the markets, whatever. If you don't know your history and you don't know the past, it's really hard to be comfortable during the war. And I always, like, I make analogies to this. Like, trading is war. Like, mentally, you have to be smart. That's why I always tell people, like, I'm sitting here. Well, maybe I shouldn't say it. Whatever. I pretend this is a mental, like, this is warfare. You have to be mentally prepared. The folks that are running around with their gun, shooting off, blasting, running around, they're gonna get capped and popped. The goal is to be what, like the sergeant or whatever, whoever's been in whatever military personnel you want to choose, like a higher ranking. It's like been in a battle. Like they don't get phased when all of a sudden the bullets start flying, and that's the problem. Is most people don't. And so what do they end up doing? Right? Is like they start panicking, and that's how you get killed, essentially. Right? You don't want to be the person who doesn't know. And that's where if you sit around and you're just watching the present moment all day, and you're not watching the back to basics, and you're not studying the past, and you're not zooming out, and you're not looking at the 2000s, you're not looking at COVID, I mean, whatever down drop, and you don't know how markets act when the volatility spikes, then you're not prepared. And I mean, again, I can try to prepare you, but you have to be the one who has to know it, because I'm not hitting enter and exit for you. You have to pull the trigger. Literally. No one can hold your hand through this, and you don't want people to. Because this is the problem, is that, at the lows, we're like, you probably should take some profit last week, or Friday, Monday. More on Monday. All right, we'll look short on the pop. Well, again, tech went a little higher. What do you do about it, right? It's holding up. Everybody's running dumb money into it, right? Okay. That's just part of the game. Like, think about like leadership narrowing, right? Like now, think of this as like a point on a triangle of like funneling of trying to like find safety. And they're trying to like rationalize, all right, you should buy an NVIDIA, and you should buy Intel, and you should buy semiconductors, and you should buy Microsoft, and you should buy ChatGPT, and you should buy Google, and you should buy blah, 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 blah. Yeah, warrior type people do all the scenarios. Exactly. The people who just think they're just going to like somehow like figure it out, that's just not really how it works. Like, and this is why I love psycho-cybernetics. If you, again, link is on the Discord room. I highly recommend it, because it talks about what's the difference, and I'll end it here. What's the difference between your local scratch golfer, whatever, head pro, country club badass in golf, and most pros? Now, again, maybe there's a little bit more, but in general, like say that, the top 5, I'd say top 25 golfers, and then the tens of thousands that are probably amazing golfers that if you went out there, they would absolutely destroy you when they're relaxed and they have a few beers, and they would probably shoot, at your favorite course, 67, and make it look easy. What's the difference between that and Tiger Woods, right? Phil Mickelson, the guys when they're on top of their game? It's all mental. Everybody misses a 3-footer. Everybody faces adversity. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody at some point goes through like turmoil. It's the people who come out of it and who know how to pivot, because that's like kind of psycho-cybernetics talk about, like a missile is not in line with its target potentially until the very end when it hits it. It's the wind and airflow and whatever, it's veering all over the place, but it's always course correcting back to its target. That's how you have to think about in this, like in trading. Like, you're never on the straight line to perfection, because the market does what? It doesn't go down in a straight line or up in a straight line all the time. So that's where you have to be like, all right, well, this zig, is it a zag or is it just a zig and I'm not too concerned about it? Or should I have traded around my position? Should I be more trading around my position? Should I be watching certain things? Like, you got to think like that. And I know I say this stuff all the time, and I swear to God, probably only 15 or 20 will get it, but you have to be mentally better. I have to be. You don't ever get comfortable, because comfort leads to what? Oh, I think I'm good enough. Well, no, the market's always evolving. It's always changing. It's not perfect. From experience, I might be able to anticipate, but guess what? There's always new actors and new things in the game, right? Like, who saw SVIB blowing out last week? I mean, we thought financials, but I didn't. I mean, again, I should have, I guess, and we saw all the C-suite people dumping. But you know what I mean? Like, my point being is, like, you don't know. And you just can't get complacent, because as soon as you get complacent and you start thinking you're omnipotent, and again, people get pissed off when I kind of make fun of them, like, they start saying certain things. And they're like, well, but you're not perfect. I'm like, I don't ever act. I try not to act like it. Maybe through text, people think certain things and anticipate things. But in general, like, you gotta be a humble humble person, because the market will humble you. And how many times do you need to be humble before you realize, like, you're not that smart? And I always laugh at people who are like, I'm not that smart in trading. And I'm like, no, you're actually smarter because you don't have like this like ego that I've been in the market for 10 years. I know how to trade excellently. And it's like, well, how are you doing, bud? Mediocre. Okay. Well, the people who give, it's like, be the piece of clay, moldable. And again, people say, oh, you're, what's the best way to describe it? You're like, you can't help everybody. And it's like, well, that's the thing. I agree. I just want to help people. Oh, yeah, everybody. And this is where I always, like, again, did anyone see my tweet this morning? I was like, I woke up and I was looking at the market. I'm like, oh, it's not really going anywhere. It's like everybody is a FinTwit guru, thinks they're real damn smart until the market hits them in the mouth. And there is nobody perfect out there. And anybody claiming that they can always be right, again, I have my thesis based on evidence, but I don't sit here and go, I've tried to tell you, what happens if the Fed unlocks unlimited liquidity and just starts buying everything? Well, does that make sense to continue to short? Well, maybe not, right? Like, you have to be aware of those scenarios. Do I think they're there yet? No, I don't think. Again, I think there would be a freaking riots in the streets if they started bailing out stocks and companies and fat cats, right? But do you see my point, though? Is like, it's your Bear Grylls living off of the land, and you have to be very observant of everything going on, and you don't know where your next meal's coming from, and you got to be thoughtful you don't get yourself killed, because everything out in wild's trying to kill you or could hurt you if you make a mistake. And that's literally what trading is. And some people just can't handle it. They love comfort. They love being comfortable. They love being in an environment of just predictability. Right? They like to know that they go to their 9 to 5, they come home, they drink their beer, they order their pizza, they watch their Netflix, they go to sleep, replay. No, people who are like that mentally, who have gotten to the mental complacency, do not do good at trading. Because trading it's always a challenge. It's the people who know how to play poker and calculate odds and know how to sit here and fold when they need to. It's the people who like challenges of waking up every day and doing something incredibly difficult that no one else will do, knowing that the results will come in time. Right? You don't expect to lose 50 pounds or put on 15 pounds of muscle in a day. That's not how this works. And the people who get lucky, that's the worst crap, because then you think you're really smart. Example, me. When I first started, I'm like, oh, this is easy. It's like, no, the market was easy. You were an idiot. How many people you think are going to get caught in that same complacency? Oh, I'm just going to keep buying NVIDIA until it goes to 280 or 300 or whatever stupid number you want to put on it. 305. Morgan Stanley said 305. So 260 is cheap, guys. Right? How many people are just going to sit there and go, oh, that's what it is? And then they're going to go grab their pop, sit down, watch their favorite basketball game, and then who knows what it'll do. All right, I'm going to roll. Hope you guys just, again, learn, trade around it. And this is the thing. The people who are trading options, you got to be hyper vigilant to the volatility. You absolutely have to be hyper vigilant to the volatility, because again, you can't be. Now again, if you have super long dated puts and you want to disappear, put your head in the sand on certain things, I get it. But if you want to leverage the trends and you want to trade around it and you have puts that you buy 5, then again, don't buy 2. Expect to go broke on them at some point, but you're trading around them, right? You're taking your profits. You hit big ones. Again, the options rules are in the Discord room. They're there for a reason. And maybe one of these days I'll just open up those rules and I'll just tell you all the nightmare scenarios and everything, how those came to be. Because every single rule, it's kind of like a law, was based on a lawsuit, right? Well, every one of those rules was like, oh, you fucked that up. And or will done again. So you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to do the recap probably tomorrow morning. Would anyone be surprised if the SPY pinned to 390? Q's 305, right? XLF 31, NVIDIA 260, Meta. I don't know where Meta's going to end up. Just be thoughtful. Yeah. I don't think people realize, like, the rants are where the money's at. Like, oh, asking about the charts. I can try to give advice, but the experience, like, you can't teach that shit, man. You just cannot. And I feel like, again, having the 7-figure tuition cost, I hope others don't have to have it either. Again, the volatility in my life created by not having the disciplines, or actually I had the disciplines, but I just made mistakes. It's like you have to make that mistake again. Well, guess what? The market is going to make you make that mistake until you figure it out and know how to absolve it or get away from it. All right. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Go NC State. Hopefully we beat Creighton. Going to the Denver game. Maybe you'll see me on TV.